So this here is going to be a painting video on how to do some Vanguard veterans. And what we ended up doing is using the Raven Guard Raptors kit. So as you can see, they've got the very nice jetpacks. And we've done dual lightning claws and then added a storm shield. So that works out the way we want them for our army. If you like the way these look and you want to see how we painted them up, then please feel free to stay tuned and we will show you step by step how we got what we got here with the colors. If you like videos like this, please feel free to leave a like or a comment or subscribe to the channel. And otherwise now, stay tuned and we'll show you how we painted them up. So this is our painting video for our Vanguard veterans. And as you can see, what we used was the Dark Fury Assault Squad from Forge World for Raven Guard, just because the backpacks looked so nice. And we wanted to use those. We've also affixed a storm shield to it. All we did was duplicate the bits from the original Vanguard Veterans box, which you could find right here. And we just duplicated storm shields in the box. And we duplicated a bunch of times. We'll put a video down below on how we made a bunch of these. But we did one for each of our Vanguard vets here. So now what we're going to do is start painting him. So he's already got his base coat on. As you can see, he's got some Citadel Leadbelcher spray. So we did that first. And we did the whole model all over, front and back. And that gave us a nice base coat to start a metallic Alpha Legion sort of look. We're going to keep all the Raven Guard symbols, though, but the iconography, but we're going to tweak it up with some Alpha Legion colors. So that way we have our own successor chapter with a nice blue metallic tinge, which we can run it whatever we like. So the first thing we're going to do in this case is we're going to take some Runefang steel, and we're just going to dry brush that right over the model, just like so. Which is just going to lighten up the undercoat. But because it's dry brush, it'll leave the crevices dark where the spray paint was. We could use a shade of Nuln oil, but I find we don't have to because the contrast paint we're going to use for the armor will also settle in the recesses, so we won't need it as much. But there we go, just like that. So we'll allow that to dry. We'll finish off the whole model and make sure we get all the metallics, pretty much the entire model, but we're going to leave a lot of it gray to begin with. So we'll do that now and be back in a few minutes once the whole model is done with Runefang. So this is our model now that we finished with the Runefang steel. And what we're going to do now is start working on the armor. So we're going to take a little bit of Akhelian green here, and then we're going to just very carefully, and it's watered down almost 1-to-1. We're going to start going over some of the armor with this watered down coat. As you can see, it's quite runny. We'll do a second coat after the first one, and we'll meet back here after both of them are done. And when you see the final, what it looks like in a minute, you'll get the pattern of what was actually painted. But effectively, we're going to do the limbs, and then the front piece, we'll leave a lot of the shoulder empty as just bare metal. We're going to do it as close to the box art as we can, substituting the Raven Guard black for our Akhelian blue, or Akhelian green. But we'll do that now and be back here in a few moments once both layers are finished. So here's our model after we finish with the Akhelian green. And as you can see with both coats, you've got this nice blue royal color that's going on here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add a little bit more Alpha Legion green to it. So we're going to take a little bit of Warp Lightning, watering it down heavily so it's just a glaze. And we're just going to brush it over all of the armor just to add a green tinge to everything we've got here. So we'll do that now. I'll be back in just a few minutes. And as you can see, the color has more of that color change appearance to it than it had before. So now that we're finished with the green, what we're going to do now is move on to our next color. And what we're going to do is clean up some of the metal that got messed up with the armor color. So all of these power claws, as well as belt buckles, anything that's actually going to stay metal. So these hydraulics here, the jet engine in the back, things like that we're going to do over again and just clean them up. So what we're going to do is return back to our Leadbelcher base, add a shade of Nuln oil to it, and then come back with an Ironbreaker there and get that nice metallic triumvirate going on. So we'll do that now, and then that should clean up some of these warp claws here and lightning claws and put some detail on them, which we're so desperately looking for right now. So we'll do that now and be back here in a few minutes. So this is our model now that we finished with the metallics. So we didn't do the trim, as you can see. We didn't do any of the iconography here or the shoulder pads themselves, but we did add some detail on the claws, as well as on the jetpack and the cabling and things that are back here. So what we're going to do now is finish off the jetpack, I think. So we're going to take a little bit of Balthasar gold, and we're going to paint the intake vent over here. And then we'll probably add a shade over that of Agrax Earthshade, just to darken it up into all of the creases and get a good intake valve there on that. So we'll do that now and be back in a few minutes once that's finished. So this is our model now that we've finished with the bronze. And as you can see, we've got the intake valve done and it's nice and shaded. So our next step we're going to do is to come back with another metallic color. We're going to take some Retributor armor this time. And what we're going to do is come in and do these cord pipes here, as well as the little burners on the wings and some of the designs on the shield. So we'll do both of those now with some Retributor armor. So there's our model now that we finished with the Retributor armor. And as you can see, we did the pieces on the chest plate there, as well as anything on the shield, as well as the vents on the back of the wings. Some of the shields have this banner on it. So what we're going to do is take that with a little bit of Rakarth flesh and just go over all the little banners to do those up before we shade everything at once. So we'll do that now and then just be back here in a few minutes. So now that the Rakarth flesh banner is done, what we're going to do now is take a little bit of Seraphim Sepia, and we're going to shade both the gold and the Rakarth flesh on the shields, probably a little bit on the vents on the front carapace armor, and then the engines are optional. They're fairly small as it is. So we'll do all of that shading now and be back in just a few minutes. So once the shade was dry, what we did next was we took a little bit of Screaming Skull and we just highlighted the tabard or the banner here on that, just to bring that out a little bit, just so it has a little bit of depth of color. And we did that for all of our models in the unit. And then if we want to write something on the banner, we now have the ability to, because it stands out. And we're going to move on to our next color. And what we're going to do now are all of the armor joints. So there's one right here, for example. And there's one up here. So anywhere where the armor has jointed, you would theoretically see the underlying bodysuit, which is usually black. So we're going to do an Abaddon black on that with a dry brush of Eshen gray over the top, just to add a highlight and a little bit of depth there. So we'll do that for all of those armor joints and be back here in a few minutes. That's our model now that we finished with the black. And what we're going to do now is do the trim all around the model. So all the shoulder pads here, all the other side, any of the belt buckles and things like that, which we're going to do with some Stormhost silver, and that'll clean them up quite nicely. And optionally, we can do a little bit of a watered down shade of Nuln oil just to add some more texture there, but it's not required. In any case, we're going to clean up all the edges here where our blue color crossed over onto the armor like so, as well as on the shield and all the highlights and edges there. So we'll do that now and be back in a few minutes once that's all done. The next thing we did is we started doing the iconography on the model. As you can see, it stands out differently than it did a minute ago. That's because we did it with Moot green, filling it in with the Alpha Legion colors. Now, if you don't like the way that looks, and I personally don't, but I wanted to kind of contrast the two choices, you can also use a white scar, which seems weird, but actually comes out really, really nice. So there's a similar model with the white scar iconography on it, as opposed to the Moot green. Your mileage may vary, whichever one you tend to prefer, go with that one. I just like these ones a little bit better because they do stand out, and I'll repaint that one to white scar. So now as far as our model goes from here, we're going to move on to two different things. That's pretty much all we have left. The first thing we're going to do are the eyes, and the eyes are going to go red, I think, just because it is a contrast for the blue. We're going to take a little bit of Mephiston red, and maybe a little highlight of Evil Sunz Scarlet, but we'll do both of those, or at least one of them, into the eye sockets here, and color both the beaky helmeted eyes. So we'll do that now and meet back here in a few minutes. Be very careful not to overshoot or to spread the color a little bit further than we'd like, and we'll see you in a minute. So here's our model now that we finished with the eyes. And we're going to move on to pretty much the last thing that we have to do, and it is going to be the belt. We're going to do that with some Rhinox hide and some Skraag brown, and we're just going to do the belt itself and then come back with the highlight layer over the top. Then we'll probably do the base and meet back here again when it's all finished, just to see the final product. So we'll do that now and be back in a few minutes. Now here's our final project now that we're finished with the models. And as you can see, we based them and we've also clear coated them so they're ready for the tabletop. So if you like the way these turned out and you find that yours turned out similar, please feel free to leave us a comment letting us know how you fared out. If you like videos like this, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. And otherwise than that, leave a like. And we'll see you at our next painting video. We'll put some photos of some of the models in the unit at the end of this, just so you can see a couple of different choices. And otherwise than that, we will see you at our next painting video. Thanks for watching.